Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Redeemed Carnivore. I am here with Tiffany. I found her on Instagram. I was scrolling through and she is been a coach or is a coach. She's been a carnivore with her own weight loss journey. And I thought it would be fun to sit here and chat with her and talk about food, addiction, God, the usual stuff. Tiffany, welcome to my channel.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you. We'll just jump right on into it. Now, you said that
Yeah.
you had your own weight loss journey. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, mine's a little bit different than what you're going to hear typically in the carnivore community. Well, I was 319 pounds and I kind of had a epiphany in a Kohl's dressing room. I looked across, I saw myself, I was sitting there sweaty, hot, tired. I had sent my girls out to do their shopping and bring things back to the dressing room because I couldn't do it anymore. I was just too tired and I was sweating profusely and I just didn't want to be out there. And I looked across and I saw myself in the mirror and I snapped a picture. And I'm in this sort of peachy orange shirt because you'll see it on my Instagram a lot. It was my moment of realization. I said, I've got to do something. It took me another year to figure out exactly what I was going to do. And I decided to start with a weight loss surgery. It's called VSG or vertical sleeve gastrectomy. I went to Mexico to do that. But even in the moments of saying, I need this tool, I was 45. In the moments of needing that tool, I knew that the failure rate for any bariatric surgery is very, very high. So I wanted to make sure I had all the tools in place after that I could be successful. Because most people regain within 3 years all or at least some of their weight, which
Right.
I did not want to do.
Right.
So I went straight into keto. And that was 2017. In 2018, late 2018, I discovered carnivore and realized I was pretty much carnivore anyway, because my doctor had always told me, prioritize your protein. You want to keep your muscle in your hair, you eat protein first, whatever room you have left, you can eat vegetables.
That's unusual.
I was already a carnivore. I just didn't know it. Yes, very unusual. He's quite a bit ahead of his time. So in 2019, I took that World Carnivore Month challenge and I thought, oh, I could do anything for a month. I've already been pretty much doing this anyway. And then I realized when I was trying to go back in February to eating vegetables that I really did feel a lot better on very strict carnivore with some coffee. And that's how I maintain my weight loss and just feeling better. I just feel better mentally, physically, spiritually. And in 2019, I also got certified through Craig and Maria Emmerich's program to be a coach, and finally took that leap in December last year to actually do it as a business.
Wow. I have a friend that she just did that. I'm hoping to, if you're watching, I'm still wanting you to come on my channel, but she has really taught me a lot about that with Maria Emmerich, because I personally eat carnivore. I've been carnivore for almost 2 years now. Prior to that, I had some issues to where I went back to eating what I call crap, the standard American diet.
Yeah.
Because I am an addict, a sugar addict. So life and, all like that took me back into that. But I've really been carnivore because I tried keto like you. And then when I went back to, after going carnivore, then trying to go back to keto, my body said no.
Yeah.
My gut said no more than anything.
Absolutely. And honestly, mentally for me, it's a lot better because on keto, I was always trying to recreate the old way that I would eat,
right?
And I see that a lot. I see that with a lot of keto people and a lot of vegans. They're,
Yeah.
vegans like to make everything look like meat, even though they don't want to eat meat.
I know,
And,
that's crazy to me.
and then those of us that were, in the keto community, they want to make a lot of treats, or
Yeah.
they've done everything to cauliflower they possibly can at this point. So,
Yes.
it's a pizza crust, it's mashed potatoes, it's all the things. So,
Right.
and honestly, if that's working for you, great. I have clients that are keto and it works amazingly well for them. But for me, as someone who is not really, no, I'm not a moderator at all. I'm an abstainer. And
Me
that's
too.
why I think carnivore works for most of us,
Right.
is because we have to abstain to really have long-term success.
Yes.
My friend Coach Mary, she says it's sobriety. That's what
Yes.
keeps me sober.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I
and-
agree
and-
100% with that.
Yeah, and it's absolutely worth it. I do hear a lot about things being super restrictive. Aren't you bored? Or, no, I'm gonna tell you what, I was bored at 319 pounds. I sat on my
Yeah.
couch all the time. I hardly moved. It was hard for me to concentrate on anything for more than 5 minutes. I'm thriving. I'm not just surviving now. And that is worth more than anything I ate in my former life.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
honestly, I've had plenty of it and then some. So
Oh, yeah.
it's not like I'm deprived. I had enough to last a lifetime in the first 45 years of my life.
Well, now in my story, I told a story, and I mean, I'm real, I'm honest. I told on myself, to where I was at the bottom of my addiction. I was eating out of the trash can and eating out of somebody else's plate that I was sitting with. It was an elderly lady, and that was my lowest point. And I tell people that because I want them to understand that it's just like a heroin addict, or it's just like an alcoholic, or there is no difference. Addiction is addiction. And to where you were saying that you are an abstainer, I tried to moderate. I really did. I tried to moderate the keto little fat bombs, and that I'm standing in the front of the refrigerator, just doing this and wondering why I'm not losing weight.
Yeah. And the thing is, we treat ourselves like trash cans,
Yes.
I remember picking off people's plates. I would pick off my kids' plates, like I was doing the dishes, and I'd eat something off their plates because I don't want it to go to waste. Well, it's going to go to waste one way or the other. It's going to go to waste in me, or going to go down, the garbage disposal.
Right.
And I have to I remind clients, it's a lot. You are not a trash can.
Right.
You don't need to worry about food getting wasted, because it's going to get wasted one way or the other. So, if you keep eating it, you're the waste can, you're the trash can.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm well versed in picking off other people's plates. So,
well, and and I would pick off, my husband's plate, or my daughter's plate, or a family. But that was the first time that I had ever, this is not really a stranger because I sat with her for almost 2 years. But yet, on the other hand, this is not a family member. This is not, like a close friend or whatever. And I'm, raking stuff in the trash can, and I'm going, well. And so I'm, and I'm like, how sad that the addiction took me that far. And now my heaviest, I was 262. But if I had kept going, I'd have been a lot worse. As far as weight is concerned. I know that you have you said you have clients. Do you deal with clients with like addiction and trauma and that sort of thing, and using food?
Absolutely. Almost anyone that has to the point where they want to have a coach has some addiction qualities to their walk. They realize that they need some help, and they need guidance. Not everybody's come to terms with the term addiction, or they want to use that, because unfortunately in our society, food addiction is almost an acceptable addiction. I mean, you see it in the
Absolutely.
church, you see it in your workplace,
In the
you see it
South.
in your home. Yeah, it's everywhere. And it's an accepted addiction. But when we say addiction, we're thinking of some crackhead on the corner, right? And
Right.
we don't want to be associated with that idea that we are an addict. But unfortunately, sometimes we need to use that kind of vernacular to really wake ourselves up. So
Oh,
yeah, I definitely deal with people that are deep in their addiction. And we do work a lot on mindset, because I think that's how you start working
Absolutely.
through that. Because if you don't get your mind right, it doesn't matter what food you put in your body. You can overeat anything, even carnivores can overeat.
Right.
You know, so it may not have the same effect as, say, going to eat a box of Pop-Tarts, but it's still not a good idea.
Right.
We need to eat from a place of hunger and fueling our bodies, instead of I need to fill this space or deal with this emotion or not deal with this emotion, or the myriad of reasons that we eat when we're not actually
Right.
hungry. And a lot of people, unfortunately, and I was one of them, they don't have hunger cues anymore, or they don't recognize
No.
real hunger cues. They haven't felt hungry in 20 years.
Right.
They've not given themselves that opportunity. So a lot of it is working through, how do we retrain our body and our mind to recognize real hunger? And unfortunately, sometimes it's scary for people, because you got to allow yourself to get hungry.
Right.
And that's scary.
It is. And I've heard, people go, well, my stomach doesn't really growl. And they've gone, like, they said, okay. And I used to hear this. All right, go without food until you hear your stomach growl. I've heard some people go 3 days until,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, okay, that may be a little extreme,
Yeah.
but I did some extended fasting like a couple of years ago, but I abused it to where, like you said, it has to be a mindset thing, and it has to be to where you are actually nourishing your body with the correct foods, to whereas mine was still healing. It's not until here just recently that I started the intermittent fasting back, because I was refeeding and, reintroducing all the nutrients back into my gut, because my gut has not been healthy. It hasn't been healthy for years. Because of, antibiotic use when I was little. I went for years on antibiotics when I was little, with, standard American diet, sugar, the artificial sweeteners, which the artificial sweeteners will tear your gut up.
Fast.
Yes, the good bacteria.
Mhm.
And it just basically knocks everything out. I learned that the hard way.
Most of us have.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
But and then here recently I suffered with migraines, and I recently had to quit coffee.
Oh, that's a rough one.
Well, yes and no, because now I have loved coffee ever since I was little. My grandpa got me started on coffee when I was, 5 or 6 years old. This much coffee and this much milk, but and so through the years, coffee, and I drink a pot of coffee and not even blink. But and then I get to where decaf, but I was still having migraines. And I said, you know what? You got to pick one.
Yeah, it's not worth it. And it's still something I've cut back quite a bit. I was a pot a day drinker, and I've quit, I've gone back, I've quit, I've gone back. It's still something I'm like, I'm wondering if this is really the last key to thing I need to deal with. So I've cut back to about 1.5 cups of half calf. and I buy
Right.
pretty expensive coffee because I'm so sensitive to everything. So it's organic and it's tested for the pesticides and the mycotoxins and all that. So
Right.
I don't want to drink a lot of it because it's too expensive. So that's
Yeah.
helped. But you know, I don't like being tethered to anything that has more control over me than I do. And you know, I think that I've got it all together. And then I have to have fasting labs done, and I don't like black coffee, and it's not going to happen. I'm not going to drink it. So you know, I'm waiting, and I beelined it from the doctor's labs right to the Starbucks to get it. I was like, wow, that's probably a problem, you know. So, you know, coach thyself. You know, there are things that you know, I'm not perfect. Coffee is still my vice. Now, I don't cheat on carnivore, but am I still dealing with my own little demon, so to speak? Yeah, probably when it comes to coffee. And you know, and it's about the only thing that I have any kind of sweetener in too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I used to drink a dropful, maybe 2 dropfuls, a whole dropper full of stevia. Now I really put like 3 ding, 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 little drops
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
But it's like any other craving. I always tell people cravings are like stray cats. If you feed it, it's not going anywhere. So as
Amen.
long as you're feeding it, whether it's coffee or keto treats or stevia or whatever, as long as you're feeding it, that craving and that desire for it's not going to go away, even if
Exactly.
it's a little bit,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, even just and I use this analogy of, you know, the joke to where the man is baking the brownies, but he said he put just a little bit of poop in it. It's just a little, and I stirred it in real good. You'd never know it.
No,
You know,
I used
and
to
it's
use that with
like,
my kids all the time when they would say, you know, but it's just a little bit, mom, or like a movie or something that they wanted to see. And I'd say, well, but it's got this stuff in it that I don't think you need to. Well, mom, it's just a little bit. It's one thing. I mean, I would use that poop analogy in the brownie all the time. I said, would you eat it? I mean, it only has a speck of poo in it.
right.
No. Well, if a speck of poo can ruin an entire thing of brownies, then
Right.
use that
Exactly.
analogy to however you need to make yourself. That's funny. That's funny
Exactly.
that you said that. It must be like a Texas thing because that's where I picked that one up. You
Well,
know.
I'm from the South, so you know we have all kinds of things like that. Let me ask you about this. You know, I've got family members and that sort of thing, and they're just like, well, you know, and it's dealing with younger the younger generation, and they're like, well, you know, if you give them just a little bit, then it won't, you know, be as bad. And you know, yeah, you think that, talking about me, yeah, you think that sugar is evil and that sort of thing. And I'm just like, that's how addiction starts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like you said, like your grandpa would just give you just a little bit of coffee. But you know, it's if I was raising all of my kids, they're all back in the house again. Now, I only 3 of mine are adults. I've got 1 teenager at home, and she's carnivore for the most part. She does eat a few keto things like berries and whatnot, but I would never give my kids junk food of any sort. And I'll tell you, in the last 5 years, it is what I've seen in our churches, I think bothers me more than anything else.
Oh my
Because
word,
they
yes.
use candy, cookies, things like that to
Crackers.
entice children and adults for that matter. They put out donuts too and coffee. So, you know, but you know, that it has really opened my eyes that we feel like we need to entice children like dogs.
Right.
With biscuits, and you know, we need to train them to want something for the food, and that breaks my heart. And you know, and
Yes.
we do it to ourselves too, you know. But if I were raising my children again, I would raise them without no food treats at all. There would be no food. I mean, I use M&M's potty train. I would not use that in any capacity. And I was never the clean your plate crew anyway. I always wanted my kids to try everything on their plate. Of course, I was forcing vegetables like we all thought we were supposed to,
Right.
But I never forced my kids to finish their food because I thought that was a bad thing to teach kids. They always had to clean their plate or eat something they didn't like. But when you're raising a lot of kids, and we had 7 kids in our house at one time, yours, mine, ours, and Foster's, and so
Right.
you buy what you can afford.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, processed food tends to be pretty inexpensive, and you can get a lot of coupons for that. You're not getting coupons for good ground beef, but I have learned that you can shop very reasonably and on a budget, especially at Carnivore, because I'm not making all the side dishes.
Exactly. Well, and now that food prices have gone up, but I always tell people, how much is your health worth? Because you're going to pay for it in the end, no matter what, either with your life, with your health, or with your money. So, when you have to go around with a handful of pills every day, how much is that worth? Or going to the doctor every 3 months? I hear recently was going back and forth to the doctor. I went to the endocrinologist, I went to the GI doctor, and the neuro doctor, because I've got thyroid issues. Well, mine's not bad enough yet for them to do anything about it. I got nodules on either side of the thyroid, but hey, they're too small to biopsy. Okay. And I thought, well, I'll just cure it with eating carnivore. Or prolong it. But then I go to the GI doctor because I'm having, stomach issues. Well, it's all of this detoxing that I'm still doing a year and a half later from eating so much crap whenever I did binge, that, it's taken a while to get out of your system.
Yeah.
And there are consequences to eating that. You have oxalates, you have your omega-6, you've got your seed oils, you've got, and that's exactly what I was eating. I was eating the seed oils when I binged.
Well, if you're eating anything processed, you're eating seed oil.
Absolutely. And with an ingredient list of my this long.
That you can't pronounce.
Right. And dairy and sugar is in everything. But it is what it is, and I try to tell people, and like you, my passion is for people to realize what they're putting into their body, because you only get one body. And if you don't take care of it, you will have problems later on.
Absolutely. And it's showing up earlier and earlier in modern society. Children are getting type 2 diabetes. That was for decades a disease of older Americans, for the most part, or older people. And now we're seeing children, a rise of children getting diabetes, because not only are they sitting around on their phones or computers or video games all day long, where, I spent my day after school on my bike. I didn't come home till the sun went down. Right. But then we are eating things that our ancestors would never recognize as food.
No. So, everything is grown sweeter and bigger, like your fruits and vegetables. I looked up on Maria's, one of her cookbooks. She had on the front, on the inside of one of her cookbooks, what food actually our ancestors ate. Number one, it was in season. Number two, 3/4 of it had seeds in it, so you only ate like this much of it.
Or it was so prickly you couldn't have eaten it, like lettuce. And a potato was the size of a peanut. And
Right.
corn was originally a grass.
Yeah.
Has
Yeah.
just been, changed over the time, not just genetically modified, but, farmers and agriculture did, modify that through different kinds of planting and things like that. And, that's what bothers me when people are saying, well, red meat is an environmental problem. I said, it is not. As we have had cows and ruminants, buffalo, millions of them all over this continent for so many decades before we started killing them off. If you really think that cows are the problem, you really don't know much about agriculture and livestock.
Right.
If you look at what we're spraying on most conventional vegetables, fruits and vegetables, and monocrops are destroying soil, where, we had seasons and you move a crop in, you move the livestock, or crop out, livestock would come in, refertilize that ground. It all worked together. And
Right.
it's the human beings that are keeping that from working together, right? But it's certainly not cow farts that are problem.
Right. Absolutely.
Really, any thinking person can look up. Well, think about that. Think about our past and what we're doing. How does that make any sense that it's the cows that are a problem? If you
Right.
think about the manufacturing that's going to go into making fake meat, that's a way bigger environmental issue than cows that make
Yeah.
it natural.
Well, and I saw a thing on Instagram, and it was like, Noah's Ark had they saved the meat, not the lettuce.
Yeah, not the lettuce.
And I'm just like, right? It
Yep.
was the meat. It was not the vegetables that they saved. So,
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about I know that you're starting a thing with Mary called Hot and Bothered. I love the name. I love it.
We were funny. We just thought it was funny. You think about it, those of us that are in this perimenopausal and menopause stage, a lot of us will experience hot flashes. So that's kind of where the name came from. And it can make you irritated, hot and bothered. So that was kind of where we came up with the concept. But what we really wanted to do was have a group that was just for women 40 and over. I love the space we're in. It's a beautiful community. I work with women, men and women of all ages. But I think this group is highly specialized. We have needs that you didn't need in your 20s and 30s. And
Right.
vastly ignored,
Right.
unfortunately. And we wanted women to not only feel empowered and that they could do anything at this age, that they could reclaim their health, they could reclaim their bodies, but that they were important.
Right.
And we want to talk about the things that a lot of people aren't talking about. We can talk all day long about nutrition. We can talk about fitness, but let's talk about libido. Let's be honest. Let's be honest about that kind of stuff. Let's not make that a taboo topic. So we're going to cover a lot of the things that other groups aren't covering because we're in a safe, private environment with just women. So we can feel comfortable to open up. We can feel comfortable to maybe share a little bit that we wouldn't necessarily share in a group with younger women or men that are included because it's uncomfortable.
And they wouldn't understand.
No. And I tell you, I wish I had, I am healthier, happier, and in a lot better shape at 50 than I was at 30. But there are some things that I would have liked to know. But my mom passed at 32. So she didn't experience any of this. Both my grandmothers had hysterectomies very young. So they didn't have any way to warn me about any of that stuff. So I feel like I'm ahead of the game. Because I've made it to my 50s, number one. I've got all my parts, number two. So that's a win in these day and age because a lot of women are having hysterectomies. And I don't blame them, but I think it's preventable. I think we could do a lot if we were taking better care of ourselves, if we were empowered with the kind of knowledge that can really saved us. Now, that doesn't mean if you have a hysterectomy, you shouldn't join the group. You absolutely should. I think that is, even if you've had a hysterectomy, there is so much you can still do. I deal with women who feel like they can't lose weight, they can't improve their health. They've had hysterectomies, they're on, 4 or 5 medications, and they're frustrated. And,
Right.
they feel like this is the last thing I'm going to try.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I want to show them that there's still something to strive for.
Right.
We should be living into our 80s and 90s as vibrant, members of our community, because we have wisdom to share.
And running around after our great grandkids instead of
I'm all for that.
Using a walker and feebly getting around.
Well, and that's the thing I think that we need to focus more on than anything, is not just weight loss, because thin does not equal healthy. No. We need to be talking about muscle and how quickly muscle loss and fragility happens when you hit 35. You will quickly start losing muscle. It's a use it or lose it, but it's a problem that we can fix. It's fragility that gets so many men and women, for that matter, into nursing homes. And
absolutely.
I'm going to avoid that till my dying breath.
Me too.
I want to stay strong. So whether that means I'm a size 8 or I'm a size 12, I want to be strong. That's the thing. I'm not going to let myself be defined by a number on the scale, but how well am I moving? How well am I through my day? How hard is it for me to get on and off the floor?
Right.
Really?
Yeah. How flexible.
Be saying that at 50.
Right. It's like, how flexible are you? Are you able to bend down and pick something up? Are you able to, like you said, get up off the floor with minimum help and minimum effort, and not have to grab onto something and get on your knees? And now, obviously, if you've had some type of injury or whatever, but that's a different story. I'm talking about people that, are just don't have the muscle mass that they need. And I really don't think, I'm seeing a lot more about muscle mass as well, because I really don't think that it's talked about enough, because all we ever hear is the woman say, well, I don't want to be bulky. Honey, do you know how long it would take you to be bulky?
Well, and these are the same women that carried 20-pound toddlers on a hip, and they carry a 40-pound purse on their back and don't think twice about it. But, you ask them to lift 10-pound weights and they're worried they're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
That most women are not going to get bulky. It's really not in our makeup to do that. There are some women genetically, they do. I think about Jamie Seaman, beautiful, Dr. Fabulous.
Yes.
She's got a beautiful physique. She works very, very hard at that. Even if I did exactly what she did, my body probably would not look the way her body does.
No.
So I have to not play a comparison game. And not everybody wants to have her physique. I understand that. I think she's amazing. But you are very unlikely to get bulky unless that is what you are trying to do, and working very hard with a trainer to do that. My goal is not, I would like to have bigger, more defined muscles, but my goal is to be strong.
Right.
I use an app called Fitbod, and I've used it for the last couple of years. It's done really amazing things for my workouts. It gives me something new. I can change. It's very customizable and it's inexpensive. But this year, it may be the year to work with a personal trainer, because there's some things that I would like to change and get a little stronger and be able to do things. And I have arthritis in my right knee from being overweight for so many years. And I had bad knees as a kid anyway. But when I did finally get diagnosed with that, the doctor was amazed that I wasn't asking for a knee replacement, that I wasn't in more pain, because I'm bone on bone in that right knee. Well, I walk 5 miles pretty much every single day. I lift 4 or 5 times a day, or well, a week. Don't do that. Don't do it a day, with minimal pain. Now I do wear a brace on my knee when I walk and when I work out, different ones for different activities, but it is the muscle working those quads, working those hamstrings, that are keeping that knee from getting weaker. And actually it's getting stronger. There is no reason to let, now I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you to work through an injury, but that doesn't mean you're out of the game.
Right.
It means you may need to make some adjustments and work with someone that knows how to work around your injuries. But an injury shouldn't end your health journey. And it certainly shouldn't end, lifting weights, just adjustments. I'm not a trainer, so I can't tell you. I'd love to, that's something I'd like to add to my repertoire someday. But, I see people of all ages at the gym. And if you've ever seen the account Train with Joan, if you haven't, you look her up on Instagram. She's amazing. She's in her 70s and completely changed her physique.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So not only did she lose weight, but she changed, her whole muscular structure.
So that just says right there, once you hit like 50, well, this is not the end of the world. Okay, I'm too old, I'm too whatever. When you have a 70 or 75-year-old woman that has completely changed, and now she's got muscle and she's, looking good, ain't no excuse. No excuse.
She wears a bikini, my friend, a bikini on the beach. I don't wear a bikini, so I'm impressed with that.
I do, but it's not a one of them little T90 ones,
No, hers isn't either. And she has a whole new career in her 70s, helping people to start training and getting muscle.
That's amazing.
That to me is like the story of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Every time I feel like, oh, I'm never gonna get, I can have those ones where I'm never going to get where I want to get. I look at her account and I think, I can still do this. I sent her account to my mother-in-law. I said, silver sneakers is great, but you got to start lifting some real weights.
Right. Right.
It's not too late.
Whenever I'm 49, June, I'll be 50. And so, I got to thinking about whenever I was in my 40s and whatever, and I thought, okay, this is just it. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not this, I'm not that. And now I'm looking at things different. I'm like, okay, I'm 50 years old. There's things that I can still do there, and it's all really a mindset. It's how old, do you really, age is, I've heard this all my life. Age is just a number. And until you get there, and I think also when you get to be 50, there's a lot less opinions that you really care about.
That's true.
I don't know. I guess it's just a 50 thing. When you get 50, you're just like, I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you don't like me or you don't,
I'm not immune to not being liked, but I'm not gonna dwell on it for months about any of that. And I think we get more comfortable in our own skin, and I think that's part of this whole health and weight loss journey too. Is just getting comfortable in your own skin and feeling like it's you can do whatever you set your mind to, and that's the thing. You can do so much, and you really are the only person that puts the roadblockers on the journey. And I love social media. I love Instagram. I love the community there, but I do have to caution women a lot. Please don't compare yourself. Look at another woman's thing and celebrate her journey and be excited for her, but don't compare your journey to her journey, because there's so much behind the scenes that you're not seeing. And it doesn't discount how well you're doing because she's doing well either. And I think as women, if we can continue to look at other women and be cheering them on instead of feeling this sense of, well, not jealousy, but just this need to do what they're doing. I mean, I see it in so many, it's not just in the carnivore or the keto community. I mean, it's in everything, mothering,
Oh, yeah.
keeping your house clean, everything.
Right.
But we need to remember our journey is ours, and we don't see what's going on behind the scenes of anybody's journey, good, bad, and otherwise. So, you know,
Absolutely.
whatever you're doing, do your best and then do better.
Right. Well, and you know, it needs to be a competition with yourself, not
Yep.
with another person. I know that
Absolutely.
I have followed Little Bit of Fit, Katie Kelly. I followed her for a while, and I actually did an interview with her and fangirled her, you know, because of her beauty and because of, you know, how she is. But I caught myself, I'm gonna be honest here. I caught myself almost putting her up on a pedestal and then looking at myself going, well, how come you're not 103 pounds and you know, all like, well, number one, my body is not hers. And she will tell you that on her Instagram,
Yeah, she
you
will.
know, and I look at these other women and like Dr. Fit and Fabulous, and I look at her and go, wow. You know, so I try to emulate. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I did it. I tried to emulate them and do what they were doing, and it got me nothing but more frustrated. And I was actually hurting my body instead of helping it. You
And
know,
the mind.
right, the mind more than anything, which in turn hurts the body.
Right.
And, you know, even with Maria Emmerich and my friend, you know, I was trying to mimic them and doing them more than doing me with the program, because the program is a tool, you know, just like Carnivore is a tool.
Yes, it is.
But you can't really do exactly, I mean, I can't do exactly what you're doing. Okay. You can't do exactly what I'm, because we are two different people. And I think a lot of women, men too, get into that mindset of, oh, well, so what are you doing? And they want to mimic instead of using that as a tool.
Well, and here's the thing. Some mimicking is really great. There's positive peer pressure. That's why group coaching works so well, is that in that group, we've kind of got that mentality of, you know, we want to mimic what the others are doing. We want to support what everyone's doing. It creates a little bit of competitiveness. Not really. I don't breed that in my groups, but I mean, I can see that. But we want to do what others are doing. But what we need to realize is how that is going to manifest in our journey, in our body, in our health is going to be different. Because if I do what a 25-year-old is doing, my 50-year-old body is going to react in a different way. But same for her, right? But that is what I do like about the community. I love group coaching because we create a community, close-knit community where we encourage one another, we give each other accountability, we can look and see what others are doing that is successful. How have they overcome things? You know, like in our groups, we'll talk about something like, oh, we had Easter last weekend. How did you do? Well, I brought a brisket to Easter and that's what I ate. And we talk about the social aspects of it, and that it gives you the right kind of encouragement and the right kind of peer pressure. Most of the negative peer pressure is stuff we put on ourselves. The community itself, you don't hear that a lot. People say, don't compare, don't look at me and say, this is exactly what I need to do. But use my journey as a way to say, I can do this for myself.
Right.
You know, and that's as simplistic as it can get. You use someone's journey, a little bit of it. She's very inspirational, right? So, but use her as an inspiration of what is possible, not what is exactly going to happen to you. And you know, I say that for any of the carnivores. Kelly Hogan, she's cute little itty bitty thing. I'm not tiny like that, you know. And
Me neither.
But her energy is so wonderful, and she's such a generous human being. Let's copy that
Right.
more in this community, and not worry if we're the same size as Kelly.
Right.
You know, my friend Laura is fantastic at food presentation. I'm not, you know, so
Right.
I
Right.
love to go over to her house because she presents food in a way that just makes it extra appetizing.
Right.
And her pictures are beautiful of her food, but that doesn't mean we all have to do that. I mean, I'm still going to strive to have beautiful things to serve and to show, but it doesn't have to look exactly like that.
Right.
There are so many different things, so many people in our community that they achieve excellence in many, many areas. And it's okay for us to strive for that, as long as we don't beat ourselves up because we haven't achieved it perfectly or exactly the same.
Right. Right.
How far have you come? That's what you really need to look at. It's like you were saying,
Right.
the competition is with me. Your
Right.
competition is you.
Right. You know, and I think every once in a while, I think that you do, because I have looked at past pictures of myself, and I think sometimes you need to look backwards to continue to go forward, because you kind of get into this rut, and you kind of get, okay, well, you know, am I going to get any more? Is this it? Is this whatever? And then you turn around and look, because I've had some people to look at my pictures from 262 until, you know, now what I am, and they're like, that was you? That don't even look like you. And I'm like, yeah, trust me, that was me.
That not only that is that they can only see part of it. They can only see the physical part of it. But boy,
Right.
if you could see what's happened up in here, you'd
Yeah.
be even more surprised.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, tell everybody how that they can reach you. And now I know that you've got a Facebook page as well.
Yes, the Facebook page is the same as the Instagram. It's Tiffany.R.D. And I am not a registered dietitian. Those are just my initials. So I'm always telling people that, no, I'm not a registered dietitian. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, same way. I also have a free group for women called the Carnivore Chicks on Facebook.
Yes, which I love.
So you can join that. Sometimes it's busy and sometimes it's real quiet, but it's just a place where you can go and ask questions and share a victory, and that doesn't cost a thing. I also have a newsletter you can join, but the easiest way to get me is on Instagram. I'm on there more than I care to admit, and I'm pretty good at getting back to DMs very quickly. So if you need to get in touch with me, you have a question, I always answer DMs, even if it takes me a day or two. And I try to always get back to comments as well. And if I have missed a comment, then DM me, because sometimes things get lost in that Instagram feed, you know.
And Instagram has an algorithm as well, you know.
They sure do.
We all know about the algorithms.
And if we could ever figure it out, we would be, you know, we would be winning the lottery, because I have yet to figure that one out.
Me either. Me either. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and for chatting with me. And y'all check out all of her Instagram and Facebook and all like that. And she does have coaching, and she is with Mary Flanagan with Hot and Bothered, if anybody's interested in that. Good luck in all of this. And I've certainly enjoyed chatting with y'all. And I will see y'all later.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. Bye-bye.